Here we are live, Playboy, playing with the house money. On front row, in your face, big bag bets. Yeah, shit, it's going motherfucking down over here. If you want to cash a ticket, this where you need to be, live and in living color. Fun Saturday football, and away we go. Hey, I'm so glad that you could make it. Nice meeting you here. Here's where you will get your college football best bets. Not only that, all sports year round.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Isn't that why you're here?
Dixie Parlay Fair, live from, playing with the house, money. Where we have done so much with so little for so long that it seems we can do anything with nothing at all in no time flat. Now, let's get to the money. Here is your week 1 Saturday, special edition. Let's get popping. This is a really good matchup. Mississippi State, 12.5, with a total of 61, facing Southern Miss. You know I like Southern Miss. I actually took a nice flyer on them to win their division at 26-1, and guess what? You have the luxury of listening to me explain why the Mississippi State Bulldogs returned a hefty amount of their status from last year, actually 16 players, 9 offense, 7 on defense, which probably makes them one at the top 5 team with the most returned starters. They were trained quarterback Blake Shaping, who came in for bathing last year. It was actually top-notch in the first 4 games, 974 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 an interception, but after that, he was hurt. Even though they lose their top 3 receivers, they return some talent in wide receiver Jordan Mosley and tight end Seymour Traore. The running back room looked to be in good shape with Devin Booth. Can they bring in Fluff Bothwell from South Alabama? They added 5 transfers to the offensive line, which brings with the full amount of career starts to 91. The offense should improve by at least a touchdown. The defense for Mississippi State is another story last year. They allowed 5 yards per rush and gave up 34 points a game, and they tried to shuffle in some new players and become bigger up front, but it remains to be seen if they will make progress, but this is definitely not an elite defense. As we know, last year, Southern Miss was a premise cellar dweller with a record of 1-11. This year, they have a whole new team. Basically, they have most of the players who came with their coach Charles Huff from Marshall. With that being said, they returned 7 on offense and 5 on defense. The offense will be spearheaded by Braylon Braxton, who was aiding one of the starter with Marshall last year, throwing fun, astounding 19 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions, along with 1,600 yards passing and 610 yards rushing. At running back will be Jeffrey Pittman, formerly of Mississippi State. On the receiver side of the ball, just call it a Marshall powwow, where they add all 5 of Marshall's top receivers. Let's try to some of this defense, which won't be easy, but I can say this, they'll be above average. They brought in 13 transfers from Marshall in numerous of the transfers in the transfer portal, so the defense would definitely be vastly improved last year. They gave up 38 points a game, so they can only be better than that. I think I'll catch a ride with the crew from Marshall, Mississippi State 27, Southern Mississippi 20. Let's keep our hand in the fire. This next matchup, I'll be another FCS matchup. Army 14, 1-2 with a total of 51.5 against Tarleton State. As you know, the cadets at West Point don't usually return a lot of starters because they play mostly seniors. This year is the same thing, returning 4 on offense, along with 5 on defense. They take a big hit losing their all-star quarterback Bryson Daly, who rushed for 1,700 yards last year, which is the epitome of an Army lead offense. To add insult to injury, they also lose a 1,000-yard running back, along with 3 linemen off of that Joe Moore award-winning offensive line. The defense always seems to play well. Last year, with only 3 starters back, they gave up an average of 15 points a game. That, my friends, was number 3 in the FBS last year. On the other side of the ball, Tarleton State had a 10-4 record season last. They return senior quarterback Victor Gablis. They do lose their top running back, but they counted that by bringing in Tylen Hines. The end of the season ranked number 10 because overall they returned the majority of the team with some nice additions to the portal. But not only that, they returned 11 of the top 12 tackles on defense. Despite all that, I don't think they have a good chance against Army. So as usual, I'm going to take the FBS team, but not as high scoring as I think. Army 31, Tarleton State 10. In another FBS FCS matchup, we have two respectfully bum bowl representatives in FIU and Bethune-Cookman. Although I do like my black colleges, it is what it is. Fuck what I want it to be. FIU minus 30.5 with a total of 54.5. I don't know what FIU would feel like they could be the favorite in any game, but we know inside this world there are many other worlds. If you return 6 starters, 303 on defense, and a new coach in Willie Simmons last year, this was a 4-18. They actually returned the quarterback Keon Jenkins, who was arguably a little better than average down the stretch last year. His last 4 games, he had 12 touchdowns with 1 interception. They lose their top 6 receivers, 4-star North, Vincent Lyman, so they had to try to rebuild this team through the portal. But how many players would opt to go to FIU? I guess if the money is right, the players will go anywhere nowadays. With 3 back on defense, the linebackers and the defensive backs will drive what their coach says will be a fast defense. There's a much to say about Bethune-Cookman. They had a terrible year last year, going 2-10. They do return 1 All-American player on offense. Other than that, they're a team in disarray. They don't know whose starting quarterback is one of the quarterbacks left in the spring. There's really no continuity or anything. This will be a team that's paid to show up and not expected to win. We don't have to put too much stock in it. This is one time FIU can flex his muscles. FIU 49, Bethune-Cookman 3. I hope you guys got in the car with me yesterday on Rutgers over 49.5 with East Carolina plus 14 1-2 heading a 3-team parlay anchored by Sam Houston State, Puzzle 912. We cash out today, baby. Before we go, here's a lock from your favorite capper's favorite capper. Dixie Parlay Fair Special. Georgia Tech over 51.5. Sam Houston State plus 9.5. San Jose State minus 14.5. There you go. You're playing with the house money big lock bag special edition. See you players bright and early tomorrow. Gone. It's your top dog, Dixie Fair, back again today with your favorite capping network playing with the house money. Today, we're going to be more brief than usual. Get right to the point because we have so many games to go over in a limited time frame. Ohio State minus 1 with a total of 49.5. Ohio State will be hosting number 1 Texas in the Horseshoe. These were both our 2 very successful programs last year. Ohio State won the national championship, went 14-2. Texas was a good at 13-3. They have Heisman Trophy front runner at quarterback Archie Manning. Ohio State Buckeyes will counter with Julian Sayin, a redshirt freshman. Of course, Ohio State lost the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator. The last time a number 1 team visited the previous year's national champion was 1988 when Florida State was number 1 and went to Miami and lost 31-0. I don't think Arch Manning is really as good as they think he is. I'm going Ohio State 27, Texas 20. Next up, we actually have 2 bums, 0-12, Kent State with a new coach and Merrimack. Kent State minus 7 with a total of 50.5. Kent State only returned 7 starters, 4 on offense, 3 on defense, but what they do have is a fairly decent quarterback in C.J. Montez, who threw for 300 yards with a superb 26 touchdowns to 1 interception, but that was in 2023. Last year, he was hurt after the only 3 starts. Merrimack will counter with Aiden Peria, who had a productive season last year at quarterback, and the main wide receiver, Jalen McDonald. I just think in FBS, as FCS matchups, the FBS school has the better athletes. We're going to go with Kent State 21, Merrimack 6. Next up, we have Navy minus 40.5 against VMI with a total of 52.5. Navy was pretty good last year with a 10-3 record. They bring back their quarterback, Blake Harbaugh, 8 starters on offense, 5 on defense. Navy's running game is really good, and they do sprinkle in a few passes. VMI is actually a terrible football team. They're totally trying to rebuild. They don't know what direction they're going in. Last year, VMI, they only averaged 12.4 points a game, and the defense was constantly gassed. This is not rocket science. Navy 59, VMI 7. In this next matchup, we have Purdue minus 17 against Ball State with a total of 48.5. Both of these teams were bumbo enthusiasts last year. Purdue 1-11, Ball State 3-9. They both will feature new coaches. Barry Odom comes over from UNLV. Mike Abramovich comes over from St. Francis. Odom had a very potent offense at UNLV, and he brought some pieces with him, but I don't think this will resemble that highline offense in any way, shape, or form, starting out with a bumble. I don't think one bum can give another bum anything. But that being said, we'll take Ball State plus the 17, Purdue 27, Ball State 17. If we have Pitt minus 38 against Duquesne with a total of 56.5. Pittsburgh returned 16 status with their quarterback Eli Holstein. Duquesne had a fairly good record in 83, although they were old and 2 against the FBS. I know Pitt has high expectations, but in this first game, giving up 38 points, I don't think so. We'll call it Pittsburgh 47, Duquesne 21. I know these are really short. This is how we have to ride today, unfortunately. Next up, Tulane 4.5 against Northwestern with a total of 46.5. This is a pretty interesting matchup. Usually Tulane has the better quarterback, but in this case, Northwestern has the better quarterback with SMU transfer Preston Stone. I like Stone. He can really throw the ball. And interestingly, Tulane has former Northwestern quarterback Brendan Sullivan. Weston has 15 starters, back 7 or 8 on defense. Tulane has 14 stars, back 6 on offense, 8 on defense. I'm going to go with the better quarterback in Weston. We're going to take Northwest. Here we have two teams that were very successful last year, the Tennessee Volunteers and the Orange Men of Syracuse. Tennessee 13-1-2 with a total of 51 and a 1-2. They both had 10-3 campaigns last year. Tennessee will be replacing their quarterback who transferred in the spring, the top running back, 3 wide receivers, and 4 offensive linemen. Syracuse, on the other hand, will be replacing their quarterback, 1,000-yard running back, 3 wide receivers, and 4 starting offensive line. This looks like a mirror match to me. Tennessee 31, Syracuse 24. Next up is Mississippi State, 13.5 against Southern Miss, its little brother, with a total of 61.5. Mississippi State is this game, returning 16 starters, 9 on offense, 7 on defense. They did have a putrid record last year of 2-10, so I don't even know if that is an omen of things to come. They do have Baylor transfer Blake Chapin, who was really good at Baylor. On the other hand, we have first-year coach from Marshall, Charles Huff, inheriting a 1-11 squad. He has 12 starters, back 7 on offense, 5 on defense. But what he does have is most of his players from a 13-1 Marshall squad a year ago, and he brings all those other guys over with him. I know that Southern Miss was a garbage heap last year, and I know Mississippi State was right in that same heap. So once again, this is slightly a bum bowl, and there's no way one bum can give another bump anything. A pissy sweater, a pair of shoes with a hole in it, a stinky girlfriend, I don't know. What I do know is I'll be taking the points in this one, Mississippi State 31. Southern Miss on paper, this is a pretty good matchup because of who I like to cover the money. Once again, we have 2 very bad teams from a year ago. Maryland, 14.5 against FAU with a total of 61.5. Maryland only has 10 starters back, and they will be breaking in a true freshman quarterback. On the other hand, you have 7 starters back, but they do have a proven quarterback in Caden Velkamp, who was previously Conference USA's Offensive Player of the Year at Western Kentucky with 3,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. I'm not going to allow somebody to start a freshman and give me over 2 touchdowns and think they can fucking cover. Have you lost your fucking mind? Zach Kitley is an offensive-minded coach, and these young-minded coaches are throwing the ball. FAU 31, Maryland 28. Okay, just get back at it. Kentucky 10 and a 1-2 against Toledo with a total of 48 and a 1-2. Kentucky didn't fare so well last year. The SEC with a 4-8 record. They do return 13 starters for Mark Stoops, 13th year here. His signal caller will be Zach Calzada, who's actually played for like 4 different college teams: Texas A&M, Auburn, incarnate word. On the other side, we have signal caller Tucker Gleason. Toledo will counter with 13 starters back. You know, last year, Toledo went and upset Mississippi State at Mississippi State, plus on 10, 41-17. I don't know about that, but what I do think is that Toledo can hang around in this game. So, Kentucky 30, Toledo 24, Boston College 34, 1-2 against Fordham with a total of 53, 1-2. What we do know is that Boston College will win, but I really like the total over 53 and a 1-2 Connecticut minus 26 and a 1-2 against Central Connecticut with a total of 51, 1-2. I like Connecticut to win and cover. Connecticut 56, Central Connecticut 7, West Virginia 37 and a 1-2 against Robert Morris with a total of 55 and a 1-2. West Virginia has Coach Rich Rodriguez back at the helm. He was here before last year. He was at Jacksonville State. He did really good. He's known for offense. We're going to assume that his first game, he wants to flex his muscles, so we'll take him. West Virginia 56, Robert Morris 10, Indiana 24 against Old Dominion with a total of 53 and a 1-2. Indiana was a really good team last year. They went to the college football playoffs. That was Kurt Signetti. Old Dominion went 5-7, but they did play some pretty competitive football. At South Carolina last year, plus 21, they only lost by 4. Indiana's quarterback will be Fernando Mendoza, who played last year. He threw for like 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I'm going to call for a pretty close game. Indiana does like to score, so I like it. Indiana 37, Old Dominion 27. We have a big dog on the block. They've been a big dog for quite a while. The Georgia Bulldogs 37.5 against Marshall with a total of 52. Kirby Smart will be breaking in his quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, who actually played in the college football playoffs last year, but didn't show much promise. I don't know what he's going to do this year. I'm sure Kirby Smart will put him in a good position to win. Marshall had a great season last year, 10-3, but the coach is gone, the quarterback, the whole team is gone. Only 4 starters return on the whole team. They do bring in a couple of travel quarterbacks. Carlos Del Rio Wilson and Zion Turner, both mobile quarterbacks, but I don't think that they'll have anything to work with. Georgia should be headed back to the college football playoffs, and they'll look like it in this game. Georgia 56, Marshall 10. Is next matchup Louisville 37 and a 1-2 against Eastern Kentucky with a total of 56.5. Louisville was 9-4 last year under coach Jeff Bram. They had Tyler Show. This year they bring in Miller Moss from USC. Moss is a pretty good quarterback and he should thrive in Jeff Bram's offense. Eastern Kentucky was 8-5 last year. They are FCS school, but I don't think they really match up with the type of offensive guru that Jeff Bram is. I'm going to call for slaughter here. Louisville 61, Eastern Kentucky 14. I know this next game should really be a slaughter, right? Penn State 42 and a 1-2 against Nevada with a total of 54 and a 1-2. Not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso would say. Penn State no doubt has more potential NFL draft choices on this team. They have 15 starters back from a 13-3 team that went to the college football playoffs. Somehow they pried away Jim Knowles as a defense coordinator from Ohio State. They should really be good, but 42 and a 1-2, I just don't fucking think so. Penn State 56, Nevada 14. Okay, here we have an armed forces matchup. We have Air Force 32 and a 1-2 against Bucknell with a total of 54, 1-2. Last year, Bucknell was very competitive in their first game against Navy. I know Air Force likes to run the ball, and I think Bucknell could stay within that range. Air Force 42, Bucknell 21. Now we have Northern Illinois 13-1-2 against Holy Cross with a total of 51. This game isn't really exciting. Northern Illinois had the 9th best defense in the FBS last year. They probably won't be as good this year due to the fact they only have to return the starters on defense and 3 on offense, but I still think they should make light work of Holy Cross North Illinois 28, Holy Cross 10. Next, we have a matchup of one big dog and one ex-big dog. Alabama Crimson Tide 14 and a 1-2 against Florida State with a total of 48 and a 1-2. Florida State was horrible last year, and Coach Mike Norville has definitely got heat up under his ass. Last year, a 2-10 record would not fly this year, and that's for sure. Jalen DeBoer came over from Washington, where he went to the national championship and lost to a Michigan-led John Haber team. He has 15 starters back, 7 offense, 8 on defense, and he's breaking in a new quarterback in Ty Simpson. On the other side, Florida State has got 16 back. 8 offense, 8 on defense, and they have portal transfer quarterback from Boston College, Thomas Castellanos, who's been talking a lot of shit all year. I know they are going to be trying to tear his head off, and he better make something happen or he's going to have to eat shit. I don't know about die, but eat shit for sure. Even though I know Florida State wasn't the usual Florida State team we know from last year, I just can't see them, even with their pride on the line, allow these people to come in and just dog walk them. So guess what? I think they could keep it close, man. Alabama 24, Florida State 17. Another bum bowl fiasco. Temple 2 and a 1-2 against UMass with a total of 48 and a 1-2. This game would not feature too many pro athletes, even though I think Temple has the better quarterback play. I'm going to have to side with them. Temple 24, UMass 14. Next up, we have Iowa State 14 and a 1-2 against South Dakota with a total of 46 and a 1-2. South Dakota is a FCS powerhouse, and Iowa State is coming from a wind over their arrival, Kansas State in Dublin, Ireland last week. Rocco Becht, Iowa State do it all. Quarterback did his thing last week, and even though I know South Dakota usually plays FBS teams pretty close, I think Iowa State won't have a hangover as most people think. I think they could cover the spread. I'm going to go with Iowa State 34, South Dakota 14. Next up, we have the Liberty Flames, 25 and a 1-2 against Maine with a total of 52 and a 1-2. Liberty loses their do-all quarterback, Caden Salter, who left for Colorado, and they bring in Ethan Vasco, who was quarterback last year, Coastal Carolina. He's a pretty good passer and should fit in really good to this offense. That being said, I know Maine is an FCS school, but I just think that's too many points out of the gate, and I'm going to call it Liberty 41, Maine 21. I definitely like total over 52 and a half. Next up, a former college football playoff team against the FCS school, and you might think, yeah, it's going to be a bad day. It might be a bad day, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. We're talking about Oregon, 26 and a 1-2 against Montana State with a total of 55 and a 1-2. Oregon loses quarterback Dylan Gabriel to the NFL, but they do bring in future quarterback Dante Moore from UCLA. Montana State was actually a 15-1 team last year, and in its first game last year, they beat New Mexico, an FBS team, out of the gate. Oregon started slow last year, and I'm going to bank on much of the same. Oregon 31, Montana State 21. Let's line up this next game. Arkansas 46 and a 1-2 against Alabama A&M with the total 63 and a half. This isn't a very attractive matchup, but I do think that Arkansas should run roughshod over this awful team. Arkansas 70, Alabama A&M 14. Okay, the size of this next one. Memphis 28 and a 1-2 against Tennessee Chattanooga with a total of 55 and a 1-2. Memphis was 11-2 last year, a very good offensive team. But this year, the signal call is being replaced by Brendan Lewis, who was average at best at Nevada. He did rush for 775 yards. He's a bum from a bum team. Guess what? I like Chattanooga to keep it within 4 touchdowns. Memphis 34, Chattanooga 21.